H.L. Tinsley, you've done it again. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be talking about The Hand That Casts the Bone by H.L. Tinsley, which is the sequel to We Men of Ash and Shadow, which last year was a big surprise for me with just how much I ended up enjoying that book. Andrew, Specifically Reads, had recommended it, and I tried it, and I just really enjoyed it a lot. More than I was expecting, just with kind of the style and the description, the gas lamp kind of fantasy and grimdark, and I really wasn't sure what that was going to mean. And then I loved that first book because it just had that kind of atmosphere of grimdark, and we're in this dark city. We're not being like over the top dark. We're not being like trying to be super edgy. It's just a very grim city, and everybody's gray. For the most part, you have your bad guys, but even the good guys aren't great and that kind of thing. And so it really ended up just pulling me in the character of John Vanguard, which was just wonderfully written in the book, and I had a great time. And so I don't know why it took me so long to get to the sequel, The Hand That Casts the Bone, but I finally have gotten to it. I think it was just because I didn't have a physical copy to remind me, so I bought a physical copy because I wanted to continue. I figured that counts because it's a continuing series, so that doesn't count as like a new book because I haven't been buying as many books. But I ended up getting this to read, and book 2 just absolutely, really just solidifies that this is something special here with this series, and it's one I'm very interested to continue. So in the second book, and I'm going to keep this generally spoiler free because there's a lot that I can talk about here. So if you're interested in hearing more about the series and haven't read the first one, you still should be okay here, but hopefully still what I'm talking about will be helpful for those who have and are wanting to know what to expect in the second book. But we have a lot of things going on. So the city's in a little bit of turmoil to start this book. And we still are following John, but we're also following some other characters, including some new characters and some returning characters here in this one. And we're continuing, and we're starting to really see the bigger picture. And that's where the first one felt very atmospheric. And that was something is just, it felt like you were in the city of Dorsey. It just felt like you were there, and just in the slums, right along these characters in the grime, and that was kind of the thing. And it felt like it was sort of a close story and contained. And in book 2, we really start to expand that a little bit more in some really interesting ways, including some ways that I very much was not expecting whatsoever. And so that's kind of the first thing that stands out here is, as a second book, I think this works really well, because the first book was fantastic, but it also was the kind of book that sometimes can be hard to follow up because of the style. This does a great job with continuing with that feel, continuing with those storylines, building out more, and really what it's doing is just kind of showing us a little bit more than what we saw in the first book, and starting to dig into, maybe how magic, science, those types of things work. Why are certain characters the way that they are? Who really are certain characters? What's really the situation that's happening? And it still just keeps that, I have to say, I don't normally go with the blurbs, but the blurb one here, Peter McLean, who wrote Priest of Bones, another series I need to continue, wrote, effortlessly readable, grimdark gaslamp at its very best. And it's the effortlessly readable, but it feels like effortlessly grimdark. And, it just, once again, it has that feeling of it just is. And that's one of those things that I've read grimdark stuff that I like, but sometimes grimdark feels like it's trying too hard, and it's really trying to be grimdark. And this never felt like that for me. Never felt like that at all, even though it is quite dark. And so expanding the themes, expanding the character pool a little bit, and expanding on the world, and seeing a little bit more on the fantasy side as well. Because the first one, there's sort of fantasy elements, but it's not quite there, and we really are adding a little bit more, and adding a little bit more backstory here, which I found to be really interesting. Now, I will say, this one feels a little bit more character-focused than the first one did, and it's not just on the main character of John Vanguard. This is the Vanguard Chronicles, but in the second book, we are spending a bit more time with some other characters, and having a lot more happening as well, although John is still very important. And so that's something I do want to note. If you're looking for just a straight continuation of the first book, where we're mostly following the same character and we're really doing all these things in a similar way, this isn't quite that. This is really building off of that, which I think is what you want in a book 2. You don't want a book 2 that just feels like it's doing the same thing. So this is really building off of it in a great way. And so I think if the first one If you wanted a little bit more, like if you're a little bit more of a character reader and you were looking for a little bit more in the first book, this second one I think will give you more of what you're looking for. Really for me, like I said too, I'm tend to be world building focused, and the first book didn't do a ton of world building in a way because it was pretty contained in this city. But just the elements that were there that are now expanded on this book give me more to scratch that itch as well. So I'm finding more about this world, finding more about how things work, who the different factions are, what people really want. And there's always the twists and turns, and you're never quite sure who to trust with anything, just because of the fact that this is a very dark and gray world and city and everything happening here. But this one expands a lot more with the breadth as well. We get to hear about what's going on in some like other countries. We get a little bit more history of why there are certain tensions, why certain things are the way they are, people are in the places they are, or power structures. So we find out a lot more about that, which I thoroughly enjoyed as well. And if you liked the first book, I cannot imagine you not enjoying this one. I had a great time with this. I liked this one too. I don't know, it's so hard to pick between the first and the second one, which one I liked more. But I really enjoyed both. So I definitely recommend checking this out. If you're looking for something that's just not over the top, but just has that very, grimdarky type feel, this is it for me. This is definitely in a kind of a different class than a lot of the other stuff that has that label of grimdark in it. But it's just really, really well done and really unique, and the great focus on something a little bit different with this setting and the kind of gaslamp thing, which I haven't read a ton of gaslamp fantasy or sci-fi for that matter, because I know you can have that with both. But it's just, the time period also it seems to fit really, really well with the style as well, and so really well done. I'm very excited to get to the third book whenever that does come out. So let me know, H.L. Tinsley, when the book's coming out, because I need the next one for sure. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this if you've read it, or if you've read We Men of Ash and Shadow and haven't read this yet but are planning to. Like I said, definitely recommend it. It's a great second book, and one that just, like I said, has to be very excited to get to the next one. So let me know your thoughts on that below, and or just kind of the idea of like grimdark. And with what I'm just describing, does that sound like something you're more interested in? Or are you interested in a different kind of thing? I feel like grimdark gets thrown around a lot, and it can mean a lot of different things, and there's a lot of very different kinds of books and styles of writing that kind of tend to fall under that label. So just curious on your thoughts there. Definitely let me know in the comments. Otherwise, that's it from me. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description as always for the Wizard in the Enclave Discord if you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, really anything at all. It's a lot of fun and we'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.